Hi YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're putting together an absolute behemoth of a gaming PC for under $300. This is absolutely capable of playing AAA titles at well over 60 FPS, and if you're on a really tight budget, this will do you sound. So let's have a look at our specs. So for $92 I managed to procure this combo deal of an i5 4690 with a GB B85 motherboard and two 4GB sticks of DDR3 1333MHz RAM. This is something you can probably put your hands on with a little bit of patience and just looking for the right deal. The i5 4690 is a 4-core processor, no multi-threading, a core frequency of 3.5 GHz and a turbo frequency up to 3.9. If you can get hold of the 4690K, which is an absolute monster, it's absolutely worth doing, but they're quite rare and a bit pricey if I'm honest. This is a perfectly good processor of what we're looking for, and it will do a fantastic job even with the most modern titles. Next up, and for the right side of $90, I got hold of this 1050 Ti again off of eBay. This is my go-to card for under $100. I think it's an absolute solid performer still. I certainly wouldn't pay over 100, but if you get it for under 90, I think it's certainly worth looking at. For storage, we'll be using a Kingston SSD. It's 240GB and available for under $30. There's a couple of different options at this price point. Choose the one you like. I'm happy with a Kingston, it works for me, and I think it's a good bet for a build like this. Let's face it, PSUs are a bit pricey at the moment. I would never advocate buying a second-hand one. I managed to pick up this 80 plus white EVGA 600W PSU for $40. It will do the job, and it certainly gives you some room to manoeuvre in terms of wattage if you want to upgrade this at some time in the future. If you can get something 80 plus bronze from a manufacturer you like, go ahead. I think this is perfectly suitable. This is not going to burn your house down. And last, but by no means least, we're putting all of this into a CIT F3 Micro ATX case. This is available for under $30 and comes in a number of different colours. I opted for the blue. This is not necessarily the prettiest case, I'll grant you. Aesthetics are down to you, personal taste and all that. The good thing for me is it comes with two included fans, which are LED, not RGB, but LED, and it's a fairly solid piece of kit. For $30 I think it will do the job. So in total then that comes to $275, well under our $300 limit and giving you a bit of wriggle room to maybe find a different component if you want. Maybe try and squeeze a 1060, maybe think about another 8GB of RAM, maybe think about a case and some RGB fans, up to you. But there's a bit of room there and I think it's certainly achievable in today's market to get this put together for under $300. So let's have a bit of a build montage and then move on to some testing. Right, so here we have hardware monitor up and running, just to show this isn't some BS build. All our components are in there, working quite well, no problem with temps, all went together really smoothly, performance is excellent. Moving on there to a couple of quick benchmarks. Geekbench 5, went okay, not setting the world alight. Cinebench, this is not a machine to render on. Anyway, into gameplay. First up, Fortnite, 1080p, medium settings, really good. You have to forgive me, I forgot to turn on my average FPS monitoring for this particular game, but overall we averaged around 100 FPS at this setting. Really seamless, worked really well. I'm not really a competitive player, so I can't judge whether this from an esports perspective is fantastic, but for under $300 I think it's pretty good. Didn't really see many dips or many lows. No real glitches through gameplay. Buttery smooth. 1080p medium settings looks really good. Overall, I think a really great experience, and for the money, what more can you ask for? When I first loaded it up, it did put me into epic settings, which was fine. It was going on about between 65 and 70 FPS, but it was a bit glitchy, I think, at that level. Overall, I think it would struggle, and there was certainly some quite low 1.1% FPS, which really did sort of flick through. So I think medium settings is the right setting for this setup. My goodness, learned some English, boy. Yeah, really, really good. I think this works really well. Fortnite's not the most intensive game to play, but I think at these settings for this sort of money, I think you're really onto a winner with this. Just a bit more running around, a bit of look at some water and reflections, then we'll move on. So next up, I run the benchmark test from GTA 5. Again on average settings, not on the highest or ultra settings. Really, really good. As we flick through, you'll see average FPS around 100, a little over 100 as it goes through there, and really good performance. I think again for the money, it's absolute excellent value. You'll have a fantastic experience playing this at 1080p. For the money, I think really, really good. Yeah, what more can you say? I think one of the things you'll notice with the averages that we go through is some of the 1 and 1.1% lows are there. I think that maybe it wasn't perceptible. I think for me, I didn't really see that. I mean, obviously you can't complain that's not there. Of course, as you go through the benchmark tests, there are a few black screens which I've edited out for your viewing pleasure, but they may have an impact on that. I mean, overall, I didn't see lows that were perceptible to me at that level. So we'll just go through the big crash sequence just to show that it looks quite smooth, and then again we'll move on to our next game. Boom! Excellent. Okay, next up, Project Cars 2. Again, 1080p, medium settings. Really good. Again, as you go through the average, we're averaging well over sort of 70 towards 80 FPS as we go through the gameplay. Again, really smooth. I think the graphics look great. Project Cars 2 is a relatively straightforward game to play, and in terms of FPS, you can really go for quality settings because above 60 FPS, you're not going to really get a competitive advantage. For me, driving games is as much about beauty and aesthetic as about high frame rates. I think I'd rather have higher settings at 60 than lower settings at 120, but that's a personal preference. I'll leave it up to you, but certainly this piece of kit is happily working through at that rate. 80 plus FPS for a machine of this cost, really good. I really enjoyed the gameplay on it. I think it just goes to show what you can achieve on this budget. Just a little bit more of my dodgy gameplay, and then we'll crack on to the next one. Okay, and finally for our testing, CSGO. Quite easy to run, everyone wants to see CSGO running, so here we are. As you see from the average FPS, pretty high, with over 165 in this particular piece of gameplay. This is proper benchmarking, by the way. I don't leave it running through the black screen so it shoots up. This is proper full-on violent gameplay benchmarking, not leave it on a static load screen and make it go up to 330 FPS to boost it up. I don't win anything by trying to con you with this. This is a good bit of kit for the money. I've enjoyed building it. It's worked really well. I think for CSGO, for esports games, for any game really, I think it's fantastic. And if you're in with a tight budget looking to enter into PC gaming, I think this is a great way to get into it. Right, well that's it YouTube. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video or disliked the video, give me a thumbs up or down. Leave some comments below if you'd like anything else tested. I think this will be an emulating behemoth, so we could do some emulation. Certainly I think this will cope with the higher end emulators such as RPS C3 and CMU. We can do that if you're interested. In terms of subscribing, the channel's new, but we're loading content every week. There'll be a build like this once a month. There'll be a new component build once a month. And once a week we're loading up videos on how to emulate old retro machines from the past, which is how I got into this game in the first place. So consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and until next time, go well.